Help me welcome Mayor Eric Garcetti.
Give it up for Kareem. Come on. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Brooklyn represent. Thank you to the other president, Mr. Bollinger, who's up here as well. To Dean Valentini and the administrators, to all of the honored guests that are here, especially family and friends who have sustained this class long before they arrived here, while they've been here, and after they will leave here, and to the class of 2015. Thank you for this honor, and congratulations on this, your big day. And let me also thank folks who sometimes don't get thanked, the folks who put up the tents, the folks that make sure that our dining halls are clean. Never forget that we work in a society where we depend on each other's works, no matter where we all, and that all work has dignity. You know, it is, thank you for the introduction, Kareem. It's good to know that a political science degree actually can be useful. You can actually put it to work. So don't despair, poly-sliders. We will be all right. And let me say a special thank you, too, to my family who is here. My wife, Amy Lane Wakeland, and my little 3-year-old daughter, Maya, who is waving right over there. Love you, Maya. Before I begin, I'd like you to just take a moment. Stop thinking about everything you brought in here, the last 4 years, your unknown future, where you're going to be. Don't live this moment someplace else or in another time. Be here, right now, in this place, in this moment, and breathe. Breathe and feel what this feels like. This is a moment that I remember. Speaking before you is kind of like being a college first year on that first day when I moved into 1206A Carmen Hall. Anybody? 1206A? There's got to be like 4 of you who live there. Clearly they didn't make it through. But that nervousness, that excitement, that sense of unease and of kind of confidence all muddled together. That's what this moment is about. And you and your parents have worked really, really hard for you to be here today. And this day belongs to you. Embrace it. It's really great to be back here in New York. It's amazing how much has changed in 20-plus years. When I was at Columbia, Wall Street was out of control, Cuomo was the governor, and the football team was terrible. So, well, I guess not a lot has changed. But, don't worry, football players are all my roommates. We love you guys. You really put in a good effort. But what I learned at Columbia, I applied here in getting ready to address all of you, which is wait till the last minute, cram, look on the internet for some answers, and then come and turn in your assignment. So, to prepare for this commencement address, I found this amazing website at npr.org, where National Public Radio used the few dollars that your parents had left after paying your tuition to assemble a collection of the 300 best commencement addresses since 1774. Now, NPR tagged these commencement addresses with 15 different themes. So in other words, there is no original commencement address. They've all been given, and there's 15 archetypes that I'd like to consolidate right now into one stream of wisdom for all of you. So here goes, my fellow Columbians. Remember in life to play hard, that you only live once, that you should work hard, listen to your inner voice, embrace failure, remember history, make art, unplug, don't give up, fight for equality, be kind, change the world, wear sunscreen, strive for balance, and finally, dream. Well, that's it. There you have it. Congratulations and have a great life. And if all else fails, don't forget to tell people you've got an Ivy League degree, okay? So I was going to end there, following the political rule that short speeches win elections. But you and I know that each of these clichés that I just mentioned is Well, just that, a cliché. So, I offer to you a speech that gives you the counter-argument to the clichés of commencement arguments past. So let's run through those 15, shall we? The first one, play. I'm truly sorry to say this, but that's what college was for. And now it's over. So I hope you had fun, but from today until the point shortly before you die, it's all about work. A lot of it. So get used to it, but don't worry, you'll soon adjust to it, and you'll think that falling asleep while watching reruns of Friends counts as quality me time. All right, next piece of advice. According to the NPR categories, you only live once, or YOLO. First of all, if NPR was really up on the times, they would know that YOLO is a thing of the past, and now people are busy running through the six with their woes. But I still don't buy this whole YOLO idea. In fact, recent research and many religious traditions believe that you actually have multiple lives. Or instead of YOLO, yamamal, as I like to say. This research and these beliefs show that we are born again and again, and I saw that movie with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, and it seems totally plausible. Plus, ironically, knowing that you might live more than once could actually make you YOLO even harder this time around, because you could always fix it in the next life. Unless you studied karma with Professor Thurman, if you did, you know it's best to dial it back a little in this life, because remember, yamamal. All right, the next commencement theme is work hard. Okay, I know I just told you to stop playing and that you'd focus on work, but let me clarify. You should work, just don't work that hard. And I feel really bad saying this in front of your parents, but seriously, don't work so hard. Work just hard enough to get noticed, take the really tough stuff and TaskRabbit it, and then go work at McKinsey. All right. So, we got one in the front row. Congratulations. Good job. The fourth commencement theme over time is to listen to your inner voice. Well, personally, I don't think millennials need help listening to their inner voices. Your generation is well-trained to be contrarian, and layer a Columbia education on that, and you're actually 96.3% inner voice. I was out to drinks with a good friend a couple nights ago, and she's a top manager at a strategy consulting firm, and she talked about this brilliant new millennial who's working for her. He's bright, handsome, smart, and he absolutely won't take direction. He suggested something for a PowerPoint presentation, and my friend politely but firmly let him know that the company didn't speak to clients that way. Well, he thanked her, and he said he would consider taking her advice. Now remember, she's his boss. So if you want to keep a job, instead of listening to your inner voice, try listening to an outer voice. You want to stay married? Listen to an outer voice. It really works. Parents, are you with me? I mean, even the divorced ones, right? Okay, now, number 5, embrace failure. I really hate this one. Now, who in their right mind would embrace failure? How about just not failing at all? I mean, unless you have a lot of money, you didn't get into Columbia because you failed. If you passed frontiers of science, you know that succeeding isn't that tough. And if you do screw up, don't say, "At least I learned something." Just try saying sorry. Remember the last piece of advice about staying married. Okay. Now, I know it's in vogue to say that playing your hardest is good enough, that winning isn't everything. Well, let me tell you from experience, failing is worse than winning. So let's be honest, you wouldn't have invited me to speak here today if I had failed. Enough said. All right. Theme number 6. Theme number 6 is remember history. Sounds good, but do I really need to tell a bunch of Columbia grads who have been studying the core to remember history? You've read everything from Thucydides to Marx, and the big lessons we take from history are pretty obvious. Don't be a fascist. Don't kill people. Diseases suck. Discrimination is bad. Communism's a great idea, almost impossible to pull it off successfully. So in all likelihood, you probably won't be remembered by history anyway, so my advice is just complete your Ancestry.com profile now while you're young. Okay. Moving along. Next, make art. This is really important. Please don't. One thing I learned One thing I learned at Columbia is what I shouldn't do, right? We've all learned that. Sophomore year, I took an architecture drawing class. It seemed really like a cool career. I could draw stuff, see other people build it. I could wear turtlenecks a lot. Well, my drawing class put a stop to that. After one assignment, my teacher literally asked me if I had just drawn a Renaissance Italian cathedral or a picture of the Dresden Cathedral after the Allied bombing. Bottom line, don't make art unless you are extremely talented. Capiche? Okay. What's next? Let's see. I think I have it on my phone. Oh, yes, it's unplug. I just got to check this text. Hold on. Now, you actually should plug in. If I wasn't plugged in right now, I would not know how incredibly cute this kitten was on the internet. I mean, it's wearing a pirate's outfit right now with a patch and everything. It's amazing. And there is literally always something more important in that text that's coming through than to whatever you're doing right now. So, by the way, I don't know if they told you to turn off your smartphones, but totally feel free to turn them on while I'm talking. And please take this opportunity to follow me on Instagram. I need some more followers. It's just at Eric Garcetti. Thanks. No, I'll wait. It's okay. Okay, next piece. Don't give up. Yeah, I tried to come up with something for this one, but I didn't. So, whatever. Moving on. No, seriously. There is a lesson here. You should give up. If I hadn't given up in that drawing class, I'd still be struggling to be an architect. If I had finished my PhD, I wouldn't be the mayor right now. I mean, just give up. Go for the easier things that you're good at in life and give up. Next up on the advice list in commencement speeches past is fight for equality. Okay, this is actually good advice. You should do that. It's really important. And I'm going to pause for a second to reiterate, all joking aside, you must fight for equality. Now, I have to assume this is part of the reason that you asked me to speak here today. It can't be ignored. I joked earlier about how little Columbia has changed, New York has changed since I was here. And in many ways, that's unfortunately too true. You attended this university during a time when the total earnings of every American earning the minimum wage was about half of what the Wall Street bonuses were last year. You attended this university during a time that there are still people, despite all evidence to the contrary, who don't believe that this country suffers from an epidemic of sexual violence. You attended this university during a time in which 1.5 million black men have died or been locked up before their 55th birthday. When I was at Columbia, in these same dorms, I watched amazing things. I watched the Dodgers win their last World Series in Carmen on the 12th floor. We haven't won since, unfortunately. I watched my city burn as the Rodney King trial led a city to see the violence that a police force meted out against its own citizens, just as you've watched Baltimore and Ferguson burn. You attended this university during a time when 11 million undocumented people are living and working in the shadows, actively vulnerable to exploitation. And that must stop. All of these things must stop. These are inequalities that can, must, and I believe will be rectified. But I wouldn't be right now mayor of a great city where I'm fighting. In fact, today my city council will be voting on my proposal to raise our minimum wage to $15 an hour to make sure that Americans who work hard can support their families and spend time with them. If I hadn't led a boycott of the grocery store across the street from here when I was a student because they wouldn't accept cans from homeless people, which they were required to do by law, I might not be fighting so hard to end homelessness in Los Angeles right now. You see, the lessons that you learn here are not just in the classroom, they're in the city. We are all the lucky ones. I certainly was one of the lucky ones. The grandson and great-grandson of immigrants who crossed rivers and oceans to deliver me to the moment that I had here, just as you've been delivered to this moment as well. Those who came to a land they didn't know, a language they didn't speak, but with a determination to succeed. There's a dicho. I was introduced as the first elected Jewish mayor in Los Angeles history. My other half is Mexican-American. And there's a dicho that some of you may know that says, del dicho al hecho hay mucho trecho. In other words, from words to action, there's a wide gulf, a large distance. Progress sometimes seems slow, but I can see that things have changed. I can see it on this very campus, and I can see it in this country. Whether it's marriage equality, criminal justice reform, and what you have achieved in divesting from the prison industrial complex, the sustainability work that we have to do, these are things which are about the fight for equality. So, okay, take that one seriously. Now back to the list. Just 4 more to go. So the next piece of advice from all the commencement addresses past is change the world. Oh God, I mean, seriously? How many of you statistically are going to change the world? I mean, I think there's only 20 people or less that have changed the world in human history. The gal who invented the wheel, Susan B. Anthony, Moses, Einstein, Kim Kardashian, and, you know, the guy who invented the Caesar salad, I think he was an emperor or something. So just keep it simple. Instead of changing the world, just try to change your sheets every so often, change your mind once in a while, but leave changing the world to the pros. In other words, that woman in your coding class who destroyed the curve is about to invent that app that's going to change our lives. So the next commencement speech theme is life tips. I'm not even sure what that means. It's a complete cop-out. That's for lazy commencement speakers who have no idea what they're going to say, and they dish out hackneyed Hallmark card advice. Oh, wait a second. Okay, moving on. Live a balanced life. Nope. Actually, my advice is to stay unbalanced. I'm serious. That's my advice. My college years, and I hope yours, were among the most imbalanced, unbalanced in your life. And they were still some of the best I ever had. Look, I'm mayor of the largest city and the largest state in the union. If that makes me an authority on anything, it's this. The vast majority of people aren't worried about balance. They're worried about earning enough to pay their rent, buy groceries for their kids. So before we worry about balance, let's worry about how unbalanced income distribution and access are in this country. And before we wonder if we're getting enough of everything, let's ask why too many Americans are getting nothing. There's no question that you should have the things that make you happy. Everyone should. So, you know, if you have time to, play a lot of League of Legends, go on year-long treks through the 3 remaining wilderness areas left on Earth, have a couple of kids, you know, waste some time doing 3D printouts of watches or whatever kids do these days. But in all seriousness, an unbalanced life has merit. There is a beauty to the mess of muddling through. The greatest gift that a Columbia education offers is that you begin your years here looking for answers, but you end them by becoming brave enough to accept that life means facing more questions. This education has complicated your sense of self, forced you to shake your habits, encouraged you to practice a radical empathy. And it's made you humble enough that you never stop fearing the next step and facing it despite your fear. You see, as we get older, we tend to gravitate towards people that sound like us and agree with us. But Columbia sets us off balance by teaching us to resist that urge. Because above all of its many lessons, this university helps you be both an insider and an outsider, to be able to navigate the borders that is where life is. Each of us is a bundle of contradictions, and that's the way it should be. Those of you who have taken to the streets to protest, stop and frisk, and maybe even occupied Zuccotti Park are now insiders, graduates of a school beyond the reaches of many. And yet you felt outside of society, sufficiently determined to challenge hierarchy. You took risks. You've held contrary opinions, held die-ins and sit-ins, and carried mattresses. Most importantly, you have learned to empathize, to look out for others, and to listen. So let me suggest an addition to NPR's commencement categories. Be confused. Embrace contradiction. Live comfortably on the borders between ideas and cultures and geography. Find reassurance in knowing what you don't know. Because as both an insider and an outsider, you have the unusual, unbalanced, even miraculous combination of both access and conscience. I came to Columbia because it was a campus, but it also had no gates. It was both complete unto itself and an integral and open part of a great city. The Greeks had the same word for both politics and city, polis. At a time when what passes as politics is people yelling at each other, or if you turn on Fox or MSNBC, it's about ideology before understanding. It is important for us to find what we learned here, that both the city, as the Greeks understood, engaged us in politics, that politics isn't a nasty word, it is a necessity. It isn't just a major or an interest area or a hobby. Politics is demanded by all of us and in all of our lives. It is the responsibility of an active citizen to engage with one another. Never stop doing that. So I believe that it is America's cities that can breathe hope back into this sometimes fragile and even damaged democracy. When we see no action in Washington, it's okay. In places like New York and Los Angeles and Chicago and Detroit and the cities of America, we can breathe hope back into what we seek in our hearts, into this experiment that we learned about and studied about. Never stop being academics and never stop being activists. The last NPR speech category is simple. It's dream. So let me give you my last piece of contrarian advice. Instead of dreaming, just try doing. At the end of our days, we only have two things: who we knew and what we did. Who you have known is extraordinary. It is true what you've heard. You'll never have a moment like this again. No matter where you live, it won't be like a dorm. You won't be thrown together with a group that loves and hates and falls in love and falls out of love and argues and agrees and hangs out and spends time with each other like you did here. And those friends and those links will stay with you your entire life. But what you also want to look back on is, what did I do with my time on this earth? How did I make this a kinder and a more equal world for everyone? It reminds me of something that Eleanor Roosevelt said when she was talking about human rights. She asked, where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places, so close to home and so small that they cannot be seen on the maps of any world. Yet they are the world of the individual person, the neighborhoods he lives in, the school or college he attends, the factory, farm, or office where he works. Such are the places where every man, woman, and child seeks equal justice, equal opportunity, equal dignity without discrimination. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning everywhere. This moment and this world needs you. This great urban laboratory called Columbia and New York and the cities of this place need you. When I got to City Hall, I thought, like many of us do as graduates, that my Columbia education was nice, but it wasn't very applicable. Until one day I went to the tallest room in City Hall, up on top of this beautiful building that's built like a temple of democracy that's you've seen in movies and television shows. Los Angeles City Hall is this gorgeous, kind of iconic building. And in there, in this ballroom named for one of my predecessors, Mayor Tom Bradley, there's a saying from Aristotle's Politics that I first read when I was here. It said, the city came into being to preserve life, but it exists for the good life. In other words, we come to cities to find each other and to be safe, but that is not the end goal. The end goal is to find and to define what the good life means to each one of us. To see a play or hear a song or something that stirs the soul. To go out on a date and fall in love with the person we may spend the rest of our lives with. To help somebody out. Instead of, texting YOLO, I got so wasted, you can text Yamamo, I helped somebody cross the street and solved homelessness. It is time for us to step up and to be contrarians and to be Colombians and to be of this world. So live the good life for you and live to find the good life for others. And if you do so, this education and this experience won't just be 4 great years of your life, it will be your life. Congratulations, class of 2015.